to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk, and this, my friends, is the Thunder Show, aka the Internet's most passionate wine program. And today we focus on Willamette Valley, which is in Oregon, and making some really interesting Pinot Noir. And I went value driven, 19, 20, and 24. So under $25. I wouldn't say, that's super value. We're not talking $6 to $10 wines, but we are talking about wines that are not $50, $60, $70, like some of the Pinots have gotten in Oregon. And more importantly, we're not talking about the $70 to $250 bottle of Pinot Noirs that we see out of, Burgundy, France, and, the $25 to $50 these days for Central Otago Pinot Noir. So big names, Lemlinson, Adelsheim, and Benton Lane, three names that are kind of iconic in Oregon, wines that have been around for longer than 5 minutes. Lemlinson first in 1999, and some of these, Adelsheim goes back till 72. It was one of the kind of original real players in Oregon, and Benton Lane back to 1988. Willamette Valley is 150 miles long, and it's a very intriguing part of Pinot Noir culture in America. It is 60 miles wide, and it has 6 sub-AVAs. So there's about 200 wineries in Willamette Valley, and it's a scene and a half, in my opinion. I really think that Willamette Valley is one of the most important valleys in wine in America. You think of, if you told me, name places that grow wine in America, just that blanket statement, I would talk about Napa, of course, and Sonoma would come to mind. I am not so sold that Willamette Valley wouldn't be the third thing out of my mouth. So Willamette Valley has massively established itself as a player. It first became an AVA in 1984. They've been making Pinot Noir that matters for a long, long time, but from commercially looking at it, Pinot Noir from Oregon has really mattered for at least the last 10, if not 15 years. And I'm just a big fan of the wines that come out of there. I think there's some junk coming out of there because people are leveraging the brand name of Willamette, but I'm a big fan. So let's get into it. Benton Lane, 2008. They've got the stamp label. I've always loved this. They always put the vintage right there. It's a $19 90-point J. Miller Pinot Noir. I brought out the big-ass glass so you can tell I'm serious. It is now a twist-off, which is interesting to see from Benton Lane. Let's see what's going on. So you can see really nice color. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. Interesting stuff. Really interesting nose. Kind of Burgundian in its attack because it's kind of earthy. Really nice sour cherry coming through. Very pretty nose. Benton Lane has been making really good wine for a long time. J. Miller, who writes for Robert Parker's Wine Advocate, scored this 90 points at a $19 price point. Really fascinating. Let's give it a whirl. So the first thing you notice is there's a really heavy charcoal component here. Smoky, gamey, a little thinner than I would have liked to see. Though I like light Pinot, so don't get me wrong on that. But I think it's a little hollow on its mid-palate, so that bothers me just a hair. But overall, really nice flavors. I do get like a burnt pig kind of thing going on. Like a roasted pig, which I kind of love. Really enjoying this sour, cherry flavor that comes throughout this wine, and there's a little raspberry torte, kind of thing, more so than just raspberries. Raspberry torte kind of thing going on the finish. Willamette Valley kind of caught me there. Willamette Valley was super established in the 60s when some UC Davis kids went up there and they left California. So, it's been not a very long time for producing wine, and it's amazing to me that the quality and price ratio of this Benton Lane shows a whole lot. And it's nice to see a winery that's been there for over 20 years, kind of being paid some attention, because everything right now is kind of like the Eolia, Amity Hills stuff, all the really culty stuff, Dundee Hills, a lot of new places popping up, 6 micro sub-appellations in Willamette Valley that are getting attention, but people forget about some of the old standbys, and this is a nice effort. It's solid. I think J. Miller got a little too excited, but to me this is an 88+ point wine Very serviceable and very perfect example, actually, of textbook Pinot Noir. Really shows its merit, nice and light, not too over the top. Would go great with fish, and I'm enjoying it. Very well structured, nice wine, and I like it. 88 plus points, nothing to sneeze at, not breaking my face and making me want to go 90 or anything like that, or 92 or 93, but really well made and very serviceable, and at $19, something that I think people can enjoy. Now, Adelsheim, 2009, $20 US. Planted their first vineyard in 1972. So when you look at the 60s being the birth of the area, not too long after, these guys have really made a name for themselves. One of the first Oregon Pinot Noirs that I kind of remember. Let's give it a snippy sniff. I like this no smell of smut. This is a little bit for the Cabernet Cabernet Franc fans. It's very vegetal. You get that? Very green on its nose. Really nice nose, guys. I mean, like, really nice. Very, very green. Green pea, English pea, celery stick, but then also rounded out with this gorgeous kind of like plum raspberry thing going on. So red fruit and a little bit of green, but the green's starting to blow over. So as soon as I'm like rinsing and swirling and all that stuff, more of the green is going away, which is sad for me, but probably conducive to a lot of the palates out there. Let's give it a whirl. Little bigger. Now this has blueberries and like dark fruit. So like the last wine really went, raspberry, even a little hint of pomegranate. This is more like delicious blueberry pie. This is like dark fruit. I love it. A little bit more weight, a little creamier, a little more silkiness. I think this would be more popular with the crowds. And, for my palate, I tend to like the earthier, thinner out versions at times, but this is not too over the top. This doesn't remind me of some of the over-extracted Santa Rita Hills Pinot Noirs that have been out there. This is nice and solid. Not bad. I really like the acidity level on this wine. Good structure. I like this wine. I'm going to point it up a little bit higher than the Benton Lane. I'm going to score this wine 89 plus points. I would drink this with a variety of foods, but duck comes to mind. A duck with like cherry sauce. And this wine, mwah, just delicious stuff. Love it. $20, not bad. Neither one is breaking that magical 90-point Mendoza line, but both wines showed extremely well. Now the newcomer at some level to the area, Lemlinson is a little bit of a little bit more of the baby. This is the 2008 Lemlinson's Thea's Selection Pinot Noir from Willamette Valley. 91 points, J. Miller. 24 US dollars. First released was the 99 vintage, so it's not even their 10th vintage here. A little bit more of a newbie. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. It's a little tighter, but a little bit more oaky on the nose, so that becomes concerning, but if balanced and handled right, could be interesting. Now this is more in the style, if you like that Santa Rita Hills, Pinot Noirs, those big extracted Pinot Noirs that almost felt like there was Syrah mixed in. If you told me there was 10% Syrah in this, I wouldn't be surprised. Huge contracts to the Benton Lane. It's much bigger, bolder, richer, more for Cabernet drinkers fan. Again, 200 now different wineries in Willamette Valley, crossing 12,000 acres of planted wine. Not only Pinot Noir, but Pinot Gris and Chardonnay tend to be big varietals in this area. Even a little hint of Riesling starting to make some real noise in Willamette. Big wine, if you know your palate, Silver Oak fans, Chateau Montelena fans, if you're looking for a little bit more of that oakiness, you'll love this. To me, I like this in a similar way that I like the Benton Lane for very different reasons. There's different times for different things. To me, this is more like an 88 plus point, 89 point wine. These all three fall in a very similar bucket. I mean, all three could be 89 point wines. Let's go 88 plus, 89 plus, and let's go 88 on the Lemlinson. A little bit too big and a little flabby for me. A little love handle action, which I have right now. I need to start working out. But again, serviceable. And again, I think J. Miller 91 and 90, so I'm a little bit more conservative than Jay on these wines. But they are solid efforts. And if you're not discovering and trying Willamette Valley and seeking out some of these under $20 values, I think there's some really nice Pinot to be had. It's hard to find good Pinot Noir. 89-point Pinot Noir on my scale at $20 is super A-okay. A little Fonzie action, and I'm okay with that. So good wines, didn't crush, but didn't underperform either. And the consistency from Willamette Valley, though I started at the top, so there's some clunkers, the consistency has been very refreshing and solid. I'm a fan. Question of the day. What song are you listening to right now? And if you're web savvy, link it to iTunes. I need to buy some new music. You, with a little bit of me, we're changing the wine world, whether they like it or not.